Good morning, world. Here from Sri Lanka. This is Richard. So it's actually Urdu here. It's kind of traditional New Year in Sri Lanka, as well as it's 2 days after Palm Sunday. So I'm practicing Roman Catholic, as well as my dad's an Anglican. So we go to both churches, and so Palm Sunday is big, the Lent season. It's a wonderful time. So I've done a couple of videos earlier regarding my journey, my personal journey to Christ, a couple of snippets here and there. So you can see the wonderful fields of Sri Lanka on both sides actually, right? Wonderful scenario to be walking through. You can see the birds and everything. Right. So regarding my personal journey to Christ, I began as a Roman Catholic. I was baptized, but I would say I was not spiritually baptized. I was not really that active. I did everything only because my mom wanted me to, because my mom's a Roman Catholic, but my dad's an Anglican, so I've been going to both churches. So I've had a good education in the basics. I even did up to my GC O-levels, even planning to do my GC A-levels in Christianity and Catholicism, but unfortunately the last thing didn't work out. And then I was in a life of science, started out in medical engineering and then in biomedical science to public health, community medicine and so on. So it's been a long journey. So far I'm not that old actually, but it's been a long journey thus far. Actually my journey to Christ took rather circuitous route. I could say I was even almost an atheist for quite some time, but luckily, I was into debating. I was big into debating, so that's my thing. And so I would watch these debates between atheists and Christians, as well as other religious folks. And of course, initially the atheists were winning because I was looking at it from an atheist perspective, because I was almost an atheist. Even though my mom's very traditionally Catholic, and she does all the traditions, the novenas, going for the Lents, the way of the cross, going to regular mass, weekly mass, and everything. So yeah, I can see a nice colorful election banner. Right. So that's the background. So I was big into debate. I was going through all these debates, and then I don't know. I was exposed to all the doctrines, the basic fundamentals, and then I started looking into the historicity of Jesus' claims as well as his story. Because any story, any figure, you got to look at the sources. And because I was big into academics, so I had to do the referencing. Now, if you do a master's thesis, for example, right, not just master's, even a bachelor's thesis, you need to have your references, right? To have your proper sources, you need to have your bibliography. So that gave me an appreciation for getting to the true source of things. Like if I say, for example, COVID-19, who first sequenced the genome of COVID-19, the DNA or the RNA strand. So then you have to go back to the original Chinese research that was done on this, right? And then you have to say, okay, this particular person or group in this particular year found the genome. Right, so in the same way, so I think that was God's plan for me, I guess, right? Instead of just having that spiritual gift from the very beginning, where my interest in Christianity and in Jesus was flourishing from a small age. It took some time, actually. It took some time, but I feel like it's more richer because of it. The reason being that I'm crossing over and you can see a big temple over here, right? Wonderful temple, even Buddhist majority country, but I would say they're very open, right? Very nice, beautiful temples over here, right? And I'd take these Buddhist principles any day over something like Islam or anything, considering the inherently political and the military and the forceful nature of some of the other world religions. Because I did explore a couple of religions on the way in my journey. Because right, as a guy from science, you have to look at the look at different perspectives. So the same way, you have to look at all the sources. Because if you don't look at all the sources, this way. Yeah, it's Aurudu because there's nobody in the roads, but if a vehicle goes by, it's really, really loud. Okay. Right. So coming back to my perspective. So even in science, if you're coming to a conclusion, like that's the point of a thesis, of a research that you do for your bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever, which is to do your own information gathering. Maybe you could get some primary sources of information, or maybe you're getting secondary sources of information and you're analyzing it, and then you're coming to a conclusion. So you have to use actual data to come to a conclusion, right? So in the same way, I think I subconsciously utilize that same analysis about the world religions, about Jesus, to come to the conclusion, because nice hardware on the side. Roads are surprisingly busy today for an Urdu season. Alright, so with Jesus, the primary sources are pretty legit, right? That's what majority of historical scholars claim, that the sources of Jesus are legit, right? They're within the lifetime of the eyewitnesses of his disciples. And on top of that, you got these eyewitnesses who, not eyewitnesses, you have got these sources, you've got these Roman officials, governors, Jewish historians like Josephus, Tacitus, and Pliny, and all sorts of people in the Roman Empire writing about Jesus, about the fact that they crucified this person called Jesus, this Jewish, like a revolutionary they were calling him, and and that his followers were worshipping him as God. He was hung on a cross, and for Romans, somebody who claims himself to be God to be hung on a cross kind of silly and weird, and they explore this as well. So that's what actually led so because now I already had a thorough theological, not very thorough, but I had a pretty decent theological background in Christianity. So by looking at this, it kind of gave me the perspective that, hey, this thing is legit, right? This thing's legit, so it is worth exploring. And then I started to read the Bible much more carefully, got many resources. Actually, a person in my office helped. I was working in an academic institution, and there was a guy, he was in a different department, but he was actually attending this theology diploma at the Colombo Theological Seminary, if I remember correctly. And that's one of the main seminaries in Sri Lanka that's accessible to non-priests, for normally people like you and I. Usually the seminaries in Sri Lanka are either Catholic, or it's kind of a mix. There's one main one in Pilimatala, it's towards Kandy side, Anglican and the Catholic seminary, and the priests go there, as well as a couple of other seminaries. They are based on the denominations. So actually this guy has an interesting background. He has a Jewish ancestry. This co-worker of mine, he has a Jewish ancestry, but he was born and raised as a Muslim, and then he actually found Jesus. Amazing story, right? So actually that's what, these tuk-tuks that all the foreigners love, it's kind of a menace here, right? You can see how loud they are. Anyway, so this kind of inspired me to go even further, and that's where I'm here now, right? I'm still learning, but I felt like I needed to share my journey to Christ, because the journey to Christ can be so circuitous. I mean, we get people who find Jesus in prison, we get people who joined Islamic armed groups like Hezbollah and found Jesus. So you don't know how and when you will find Jesus, because he has a place in the time for it. And I would welcome all, no matter where you are, if you get the calling from Jesus to give it. It's really loud today. I thought of making the video because I thought it will not be. I think this is kind of agrarian society here. It's really not that busy, but still it's busy. So anybody who's interested, because it's legitimate. The claims are legitimate. So the rest is about your heart. Because if you look at the scriptures in Christianity, you get the Hebrew Old Testament, which is the Jewish scriptures, or the revealed to the Jewish prophets, and they all revealed there's a Messiah who will be coming for our salvation. This Messiah will be divine, and that your heart is what is actually needed. You need a change in your heart, right? Where actually God reveals to this prophet Jeremiah that your heart, that His law will be written in your hearts, actually. So that's what Jesus said when He came here. He said that that you need a change in heart, right? So that is what I welcome all to explore, because it's not merely facts based. Like you look at these facts, all right, the Gospel of Mark was written on between 60 to 65 AD, so it's legitimate. That doesn't mean you'll find Jesus, but hey, that's only a start. Because the rest is about the heart, guys. The rest is about the heart. So that's what I want to share humbly, my experience with Jesus, and I've actually come to the main road. It's fairly busy, actually. So, yeah, there you go. God bless you all in this Lent season, where we relive and commemorate the last 2 weeks of Jesus' life. I'll be doing a couple more videos on Palm Sunday, for example. But for now, let's give it a go. Crossing the road. Alright guys, God bless you all.